Wow. The Toronto Raptors lose in embarrassing fashion. They lose wire to wire. They got blown out. Every single quarter was a loss, with the exception of the fourth quarter. Congratulations to the bench. This was shocking. I didn't expect this team to do this, especially after the last game. I thought there would be some emotion, some guts, some, try hard, a little bit of juice, a little vengeance, maybe from Gary and Scotty and guys who, maybe felt Fred deserved a little bit. Man, that Houston team came and punched this Toronto Raptor team in the face so hard, and they never bounced back. There was some effort, there was a little bit of grit, a little bit of kickback from Dennis Schroeder. Decent game from Scotty Barnes. Not enough, obviously. Let's take a look at the box score. This was a bloodbath. This was embarrassing. This is not what you want to see if you're the Toronto Raptors right now. Terrence saying Fred laughing has yeah, probably. Bruce Brown just heaving it, throwing it anywhere, doesn't matter. Hit the rim, don't hit the rim, hit the mesh, doesn't matter. Good news for the Toronto Raptors, of course. Jakob Poeltl and Emmanuel Quickley come back. It didn't help that much. IQ with a huge game from three, ends up scoring 25 points. A lot of those come in late. He struggled very early to start, but he got a little bit going later. Good to see, encouraging, that your two young, let's call it pillars, had a good game. Scotty Barnes, 10 for 17. Getting to the line a little bit more. It's pretty impressive. 28 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Didn't make a live about Scotty getting snubbed for the All-Star game. Honestly, yeah, of course I think he's better than Paolo Banchero. Of course. You put Paolo on this team, they're not any better. They're probably worse. But it's hard to make a really, really strong case when you yourself are tailing off as your team needs you most, right? If your independent performance is tailing off a little bit and you are in the bid for All-Star, right? To me, that's a pretty tough case to make. Do I think he should have made it? Sure. I can make a really solid case for Kristaps Porzingis. I can make a solid case for Trae Young. I can make a solid case for Derek White. There's some guys who probably got overlooked. And, we haven't done a live in a few days. I apologize. As I mentioned, been working on the Penn Dance Film Festival a lot and, getting some good headway, selected some films. But yeah, I've been paying attention in my, breaks in the middle of it. Of course, I've been paying attention. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to tell you Scotty deserves to be an all-star. And yeah, in theory, he does. And maybe if Pascal and OG stayed on this team and he was the best player on a team that was, 5 games under 500, he might have made it. But they make the trades and he doesn't make it. And therein lies, that's a good point. He did have a cold stretch. Earlier on, the story was, hey, man, guy shooting 39% from three, everything. Noble Venom, thank you. This is our first super chat of February. And while I am not able to disclose why, based on advice from everybody, you have no idea how much this helps right now. So thank you so much. I like Amen Thompson a lot. I like his brother a lot too. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that question. Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he has really good ball skills. Man, this was a tough game. I don't want to go on Twitter right now. I will not even log into that app right now because the narratives that could be spun around this game on a one-game flip reaction, right? These reactions were not there when the Raptors were blowing out Miami. No. The Raptors are massively undermanned. Tonight, you can't make the case of, we didn't have a center. You could, in theory, make the case that your center hasn't played in 2.5 to 3 weeks and he was rusty as hell. The Raptors had no paint defense tonight. They had no point of attack defense. They were turnstile. They were an absolute turnstile. Gary Trent. One player who really did stick out, defensively at least, was Grady Dick, grabbing a few charges. I really like that. Scotty Barnes, some contests at the rim. The Raptors had no answer for Alperen Sengun. Really, really great young player. Another guy that I feel was snubbed for the All-Star game. It's crazy. To those who, interesting little back and forth between Fred and Dennis Schroeder. I thought that was interesting, funny even. A little bit of energy in a game that was just so draining to watch, man. Mark Anderson, Knicks fleeced Raptors, not even a draft pick. Hey, don't sleep on that 31st overall pick, man. We're gonna grab someone great. Cam Whitmore was eating at will. The Raptors defense was so bad that to judge anything in this game is so hard, right? Now, Cam has had some really big games. He's had some really bad games. He's an NBA athlete. He's a brick shithouse. Like, he's like 250, 260 pounds of just solid muscle. And he's a crazy athlete. So, yeah, in a game where you're not going to defend the rim and, the Houston Rockets are just poking holes left and right through this defense. I feel like this game didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, I almost came onto this live and was like, hey, let's talk about this game that didn't happen. I want to wipe this game from my memory. I don't want it. Is this what Detroit feels like? Is this what Washington feels like? Is this what Charlotte felt like? Man, this sucks, right? It does suck. Mama said there would be days like this, right? You've traded away two of your better players and you've gotten back not that. Make case worse, an already kind of bad team is missing RJ Barrett. Jakob Poeltl, I don't think he played well tonight, overall. And he fouls out in 20 minutes, 6 points, 2 blocks, 5 rebounds. But it's just like, my God, this is not Rudy Gobert. This is not Dikembe Mutombo. He's only going to be able to deal with so many people coming at him. The Raptors' point of attack defense was miserable tonight. Bruce Brown was so bad. The Raptors get absolutely almost nothing from the bench other than Dennis Schroeder. Obviously, to those who are very big critics or strong advocates that the Raptors shouldn't have picked Grady Dick, this was a tough game to watch, right? The guy you pick goes 24 minutes. He scores 3 points, goes 0 for 4 from 3, right? Even misses a single free throw. He doesn't have a great game. And then the guy that a lot of you wanted in 3 less minutes goes 10 for 17 and has 25 with 6 rebounds and 2 steals. I got to tell you, Cam Whitmore tonight probably had a better game individually than any game in Grady's career. That doesn't mean that Grady's going to be a worse player. It just means that right now it's tough. This whole thing is tough right now. Everything is tough for the Raptors. But everything is going to be tough when you go on the road and play this way, okay? Now, Darko Rajakovic made a lot of headway for, blasting the referees. And I don't know if he'll do it. I doubt he would. But tonight would be a game where I would blast my team because this ain't good. Right? This is crazy. Let's look at the team stats. I mean, let's just talk about the individual performances, shall we? Gary Trent Jr. goes 5 for 12. He has 12 points. He got going early, didn't really do too much late. Thaddeus Young comes off the bench, solid, 25 minutes, 4 for 4. Raptors missing Jonte Porter. No Chris Boucher tonight. Weird. No Otto Porter. Again, weird. Just sitting there. Waiting to be traded or what? Chris Boucher not playing tonight was pretty strange to me. And Jalen McDaniels, yikes, right? Jordan Nwora tonight, you can say solid outing of solid efficiency, but man, defensively, all these guys were just giving everything away. And there were probably 7 minutes grand total in this entire game where I feel like the Raptors were really competed. When you don't have the talent, when you're down numbers, when you're on the road, when you're fighting for whatever pride you have, and you got to go out and you got to kick first, you got to punch first. But I think that the Rockets wanted to make an example out of this team. I think Fred VanVleet had them ready tonight. He himself only plays 25 minutes. A lot was made about Fred VanVleet prior to the game. We'll talk about it. Some of the coverage from Michael Grange and Doug Smith was just weird, to be honest. But sorry, I'm having trouble clearing my throat here. Give me one sec. Okay, I should feel better. It's tough. It's tough to watch a team lose this way to a team that's not that good. Okay. The Houston Rockets are not, the 98, 96 Chicago Bulls, right? Like they're a pretty decent team, but they're not this. They're 23-25, but they're a really good home team. They're not a good away team, but they're really good at home. They're 18-9 at home. It's one of the better home records in the league. And they took care of business at home. And they whooped a team that just wasn't ready to play. And why were they not ready to play? Good question. Because they had a long time off between games. And they certainly should have been ready to play. They should have come out ready to go. A lot of talk before the game about Fred VanVleet's quotes, right? Hold on, let's just take a quick look at this. 25 points for Cam Whitmore. Amen Thompson comes off the bench, 9 for 11. Obviously, to those of you who, like me, wanted us to tank last year, Amen was a big reason that some of us wanted to tank. Amen, Kaysen Wallace, Asar Thompson. I mean, there's so many guys. Bilal Coulibaly. Man, imagine those guys on this team right now. You probably feel a hell of a lot better about the future, right? It probably feels like you're so much closer. And instead, you have Jakob Poeltl and you have this draft pick looming. And, I'll remind you, let's take you back. Hold on. Let me show you something. Let's go back into history. Let's go into the archives because I think it actually does relate very much to the question at hand. Give me one sec here. Oh, I can't do that. Weird. Give me one sec here. Am I able to share an incognito screen? I wonder. Hold on one sec. Oh, I can share an incognito screen. That's weird and somewhat defeats the purpose of an incognito screen. Okay. Okay, take a look at this. So let's go back into the archives because a lot of stuff that came out today made me feel like very vindicated, let's just say, for a lot of stuff that I said about Fred. It's almost like they're presenting it like it's brand new news. Like we didn't know that he wasn't like meshing with his younger teammates. Like we didn't know that, he maybe had a different vibe than the rest of the team, that his team wasn't vibing with him, etc. But I will remind you that a lot of this Toronto media last year, they covered him like he was the good guy in this whole situation. Like he was like the savior, that everything that was being said about him was crazy. And personally, I'm kind of sick of, one thing I'm really sick of is being told I'm crazy and then finding out like 7 months later on, from a confirmed source, a person who would know was completely right. Like look at all these lives. Like everything we were talking about on this channel for a freaking year and being called crazy for it was true. Did we or did we not say that not tanking last year was stupid? Of course we did. Did we not push for Jordan Hawkins? Yes, we did. Right there. Did we not dissect the shit out of Fred VanVleet for being like not very, very good with his younger teammates? Yes, we did. Did we say that he was chasing the bag and kind of padding his stats? Yes, we did. Have I not talked ad nauseum about how the trading of DeMar DeRozan impacted how Fred and Pascal saw their role with this organization? Yes, I have talked about it 100 times. It's weird, man. Look at this. What were the Raptors thinking? Do you know that at the time the trade broke? Look at this. The Raptors were about to make a huge mistake. Literally on this live right here, we found out that they traded for Jakob Poeltl. They started that live an hour before they made that trade, and then they traded for Jakob Poeltl. So I'm just saying, like, can we refresh our basketball takes sometimes? You know, can we get to a point where we're not calling people crazy and stupid, and then when we find out, like 6 months later, that everything they were talking about was absolutely factual, that we just still call them crazy and stupid because that's the first thing we remember. I don't think we were crazy and stupid. I think we were fucking ahead. Anyway, let's bring on Ahmed. Ahmed, what's up?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. What's up?
Oh, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I've been watching you for like, I don't know, about 3 months now,
Okay.
and love your content.
Thank you.
Yeah. Funny thing. So I was watching one of your lives, and you said you went to Stephen Leacock, and my brother actually went there. He's like 3 or 4 years younger than you.
He's 3 years younger than me.
Yeah.
How old is he? 32?
Either 32 or 33. Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Small world.
Small world indeed.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about. I was thinking yesterday of what this team can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hello? I don't know if you got disconnected. You said you were thinking about what this team could be.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Sorry, I was trying to look at my notes, and I noticed I can't do the both at the same time because I'm on my phone. But so the first thing is I wanted to do that Pirtle trade for the OKC for the picks and those young
Okay.
players.
Dennis
No,
Schroeder and Jakob Poeltl out the door.
yeah. So I don't really care too much about the players, like put them in the G League, whatever. I more care about the picks, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second trade I would do is I would go for Herb Jones and I think it's Daniel something, right? Let me check.
Dyson Daniels.
Yeah. Yeah, Dyson Daniels. So then what I would trade for that was Bruce Brown, and then basically all the picks that we got. So the Knicks trade, the Knicks pick, the the Indiana pick, and then the two OKC picks. Like whatever
So
it takes.
you think that they would give you Herb and Dyson for those picks and Bruce Brown? I don't think so. I don't think
Well,
so, man.
I don't know. They're trying to like shed off cap space, right? Like
Yeah,
salary
they're
and
trying to shut off cap space, but like, I mean, at the same time, like it's really difficult to get one player that good, much less two. You know, for what we have to offer. Yeah,
do you think they'd do it just for Herb Jones then? For that?
maybe. Yeah, Manny Gill saying Dyson Daniels was guarding Wemby at the end of the Spurs game today. Hell yeah, man! It's great. He's a great player.
He
Yeah.
is. He doesn't have like I looked at his stats, and it's not just like a lot of people just look at stats and stuff, but he's just a really good defender, on ball defender.
Hmm.
And like if we
I
can't
think
get
he can
him and
guard pretty well at the rim too. He has like a little bit of like positional versatility. Like he can guard 1, 2, 3, 4, which is pretty cool. And apparently he's guarding Wembanyama, so he can guard fives too once in a while. So yeah, I'm really impressed with him overall. That was a prospect I was super duper high on at the draft. Like when I did my draft grades, I was like A plus. Everyone will regret passing on Dyson. I even told my
yeah,
boy who runs the Kings, I'm like, y'all will regret passing on Dyson Daniels at 4. Now that may seem crazy because Keegan Murray has been really good, but I think like Dyson's like 3 years younger, and I think he might be just a little bit behind. So yeah, I trust that in 3 years, Dyson Daniels will be like one of the top 5 players in that draft, maybe
yeah.
top 6. Yeah.
The other thing, so I was thinking, so it'd be Scotty, Barrett, quickly, and then
Hmm.
Herb Jones, and then in the off season we try to get Claxton,
Hmm.
see if he comes because we've been eyeing him for a while, and there's rumors that he's wanted to kind of come here, but shit got like stuff got in the way, kind of thing, and
Okay.
weren't able to trade for him.
Yeah.
So another trade I was looking at was we ship Boucher, Otto Porter, um, Trent Jr. and uh, Who's the other player? 1 sec. Let me just check it. Oh, and Jalen McDaniels
Okay.
to Sacramento Kings, and then we'd get Harrison Barnes, Sasha, um, and Kevin Herter. So they get some more like bench players, and if you put Gary in there, he's been shooting really good in the 3, and we take Harrison Barnes' contract.
Yeah,
And
I'm not really sure any of these trades make a hell of a lot of sense, Ahmed. I'm sorry. Like they don't. They're a little bit unrealistic in my opinion.
Okay.
They don't really fully consider the other side. Why would the Kings want to take on 4 players? It's really difficult for any team that's contending to implement 4 new pieces. No matter how badly you think they want to get off of Harrison's contract
Mhm.
or Sasha's contract, that, yeah, it makes sense earlier, maybe, for them to take a deal like that, because they get some defenders. That trade makes a little bit more sense. I think the Dyson plus Herb thing doesn't make a lot of sense. I think these are trades that would be really great in 2K, in my opinion. Like this is
Mhm.
this is going to be real easy in 2K, but in 2K, like it's not real life. You to get a team to really buy into 4 guys that they don't really want, like unless they really, really want Otto or Jalen McDaniels or something like that. And yeah, the Kings could totally use that trade, in my opinion. If I was the Kings, I would listen to that offer, you know. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Implementing that many players this late in the season's hard, man.
Yeah, they're not like kind of like an OG where you can just like plug them in kind of thing. They kind of
Well,
need to get.
Otto is. Chris is
Mhm.
kind of like that way too. I'm just saying, like from their side, they have chemistry with Harrison Barnes at this point, even though he's an older guy with multiple years left on his contract. With Zenkov is a guy I believe who has 3 years left on his contract. Herder has 2 years left on his contract. So this would be a straight up like salary dump for them. They would have to have plans for this offseason to want to use some of that money. Boucher is not an expiring. McDaniel's not an expiring. Unfortunately, the Raptors probably could have made them expirings, but they didn't. So yeah. Anyways,
Mhm.
any final thoughts, man?
Yeah, just one other thing. Or yeah, I just wanted to talk about Justin Winslow because I was watching Raptors
Justice
Digest.
Winslow?
Yeah, Justice Winslow. Yeah, sorry. Raptors Digest said he's been playing pretty good in G League, and I've been
Mhm.
looking at his stats, and he's actually been playing pretty well. Like very efficient from the field. Uh, very efficient from 3. Lots of rebounds, lots of assists, but his assist
Mhm.
to turnover ratio is kind of like pretty
Well,
bad
I mean,
in
he's
my
an
opinion.
NBA player. He's an NBA player
Yeah.
and, not a very good one. And he's playing in the G League and he's older than a lot of those guys. So yeah, I would expect him to dominate the G League. That doesn't mean that he should be part of the Raptors future or any sort of thing like that. I think he has at times at Memphis been a pretty useful role player. He's certainly, if he was on this team, he probably wouldn't be the worst player on this team. He also
Mhm.
wouldn't be cracking the rotation. In my opinion, he's not worth more in terms of a development look right now than a guy like Jordan Nwara. Um, he's had a very big history of injuries. So I think a lot of that goes against him, man. Anyways, thanks a
Okay.
lot for calling in. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, man. Have a
Cheers,
good one.
man. See ya. All right. Um, Marwan, what's up?
Hey Rob, how's it going?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to say you already kind of spoke about Jakob and that trade and how it was the bad idea.
Mm.
This is a sentiment that I've had most of the season. I think this is the game where it's like we need to talk about this. I think Jakob is a very lackluster rim protector for someone who doesn't play anything else. I feel like
Mm.
this season, especially, you know what? Maybe at the tail end of last season, like it was good for us, and we went on a win streak, and it was working out. In terms of what I've seen from him this season, I don't know about you, but I think it's been very lackluster from him.
Yeah. I mean, look, you have a bunch of guys on this team who probably care a lot about winning. Guys like Scotty, guys like IQ. These guys haven't lost much in the NBA. Scotty's been on 2 teams, an average win total of 47 or 44 wins per year. So this is really new territory for guys like that. Jakob has been on a lot of losing teams, unfortunately for him, with San Antonio, but he's also a winning player. Like, he's a guy who's definitely going to be more dialed in when things are moving towards winning championships, playoffs, competing. So, when the Raptors kind of came out and waved their flag and said everything's about development, 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 immediately you felt like the room changed, right? And I don't necessarily think it's fair to say that Jakob is a terrible rim defender or anything like that. I just don't think he's a very, very good one. You know, I don't think that he doesn't offer a tremendous amount of rim deterrence, right?
Yeah,
The
he does.
analytics don't necessarily factor into how much intimidation at the rim matters, right? Nobody wants to get blocked. So when I think about great rim protectors in history, like Ben Wallace, Dikembe Mutombo, guys of that nature, even guys like Theo Ratliff, even someone like Miles Turner, Hassan Whiteside, whatever, guys who just rack up a ton of blocks. Not that I'm putting Hassan Whiteside in the same category as some of those guys. Alonzo Mourning, these guys, they make you think all the time. Like, they challenge you in a way, and they're so intimidating in there that every shot you take around the rim is by default less effective when they're on the court, because you're changing your angle. You're angling things away from them. You might be fading away a little bit more than you used to. And this presence of a Rudy Gobert or Draymond Green, guys like this, it makes offenses worse. And that type of presence is not what you have with Jakob, in my opinion. Like, you just don't get that from him. That doesn't mean he's useless, though. Like, he is a pretty good pick and roll defender. According to Darko and the coaching staff, which I'm struggling to understand what analytic they use, they said he was top 5 in the NBA in defending pick and rolls. I find that so hard to believe. He drops a lot, right? So he has like the drop coverage. But the problem is you have to look at Jakob as like the last chain, right? So it matters that the first chain and the second chain are doing what they're supposed to do. So if Emmanuel quickly gives like a straight blow by and Scotty Barnes doesn't help on that blow by, then Jakob Poeltl is facing 2-on-1 at the rim. And that's not a winning proposition for anyone, right? Because if he contests, then his man gets an open dunk. And if he doesn't contest, like that nice little wide open layup for Fred VanVleet early, then, the guy gets a wide open layup. So it's like everyone has to work on a string. And I feel like Jakob is like a lot like OG or even someone like Scotty, where the better the defenders around them, the better their impact. You know what I mean? They're like a finishing piece on a defensive team. They're not a one-man anchor of a defensive team. Frankly, I don't know any one-man anchors on the defensive end other than Rudy Gobert in the NBA right now.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think that like this is a pretty one-dimensional guy. We talk about a lot of one-dimensional like pieces in our team. You talk about like Gary, if the shot's not falling, what does he really do for you?
Fair.
We've talked about other players like with the same nature. If you look at Jakob, realistically speaking, if this guy doesn't defend very well, this guy is barely a bench player in the NBA. He isn't. Like I'm just saying, I personally think so. Like in terms of his playmaking ability is not enough to keep him on the floor. And if it isn't for the fact that he defends or supposedly defends as well as we like to think he does, then there really isn't much merit in playing him minutes, because offensively we all know how that goes. He can't really. The second this guy gets fouled, he can't make his free throws. Outside, like in terms of his offense, like all of his game is pretty much finishing around the rim. He doesn't even have a mid-range shot like that. So this is a pretty one-dimensional player, if you ask me. And when he
he's a
isn't
really
doing
good
that one
screener.
thing,
Yeah.
when he isn't doing that one thing, I mean, what does he really offer you? This guy's 29 years old, making $20 million a year.
First, he's 28. He's 28. Okay. So I don't know if that makes a difference, but he is. He's an excellent screen setter. He's a pretty good rebounder. Like, he's a fairly decent rebounder. He's a good roller. He's a great finisher at the rim. I mean, how do you say a guy who, for the most part of the season, has led the entire league in true shooting percentage is barely a bench player? That to me is absurd. He is going to play 18 to 20 minutes on any team he's on, including the Celtics. He would play for any team.
But I think
go ahead.
Yeah, I think 18 to 20 minutes is pretty much a bench player. I mean, we're playing him like Jakob is some next starter. I don't think he is. Because at
Look,
this point in the team, like what's he I think he's averaging what, like 27, 28 minutes now.
sure.
So
I,
like realistically speaking, the guy doesn't offer us very much. And the problem is it's fine if his rim defense is up to par. I think recently, I don't know what it is, he's gone much slower. And I
hmm.
think this game especially torched, absolutely torched on so many possessions. Şengün does the simplest fake and this guy goes flying. I think his lateral quickness has gone out the window recently. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's checked out. I don't know what it is. But I think like when that aspect of his game isn't popping like we've seen it before, in terms of his ability on the court, he starts to become more of a liability than a plus.
Yeah, I think there's a two-prong, three-prong, defense on this, and we'll probably end it on that. But first, probably shouldn't have traded for him.
I
We're
agree.
we're in the right place, right? Definitely shouldn't have traded what we traded for him, but probably shouldn't have traded for him because we could have gone the other way and tanked. Done it a year earlier, gotten off of Fred. We've been through this. The second thing is, he probably isn't an ideal pairing for Scotty Barnes, and he probably isn't like a great presence on a team that doesn't have a ton of shooting. Like we saw, like sometimes how much more breezy the offense felt with a guy like Jonte Porter. Sometimes like some of the best stretches of basketball we've seen with Scotty at 5, Jonte at 5, Dad at 5. Even Dad, I mean, like what the fuck happened to Dad? This guy used to launch corner threes. He doesn't do that anymore. I don't know what
Yeah.
happened to him either. Um, I guess the fourth element of this is, he's massively overpaid. He is.
Yeah.
Relative to production, relative to what he provides, yeah, he is massively overpaid. 4 years, 80 million. This is what we did. I mean, a team that is right now getting a little stingy on Pascal Siakam maxes, and granted, I was very firmly for Pascal Siakam does not deserve a max. But man, if Pascal Siakam does not deserve $50 million and OG doesn't deserve 40 and Fred doesn't deserve 35, then Jakob does not deserve 20.
Yeah.
you know, like the scale has to go. And the Raptors, clearly, I think if Fred had come back, maybe Jakob takes like 16. But the minute he saw that there was money available, probably feeling that he's been criminally underpaid for most of his career. And if you think about it, he has
He
been,
has been.
right?
Yeah, I agree.
Like he made like shit. His career earnings are terrible for a guy who started for so much of his career. So unfortunately, with players who kind of lack burst to begin with, there isn't much burst to lose. So that's probably a good thing. But the problem is that he was a pretty nimble guy. That was a big plus with him. He could kind of switch out, defend a little bit, hedge the pick and roll. He can get a little bit higher. Couldn't like he's not dancing with guys on the perimeter, but he wasn't like completely surrendering to them. So I do wonder, a part of me wonders if this is just a matter of a guy knowing that his team is going nowhere and just kind of saying, why should I kill myself for this? I wonder if also this is a guy who, you know, we all want to say that, hey, be a pro, do your job. You make $20 million. You should play like $20 million. But let's be real. How many of us go to work sometimes and don't earn our paycheck? We all do. I think there's a lot going on with the Raptors right now. A lot of players in transit. I keep saying the word transit. Like, we don't know where Bruce Brown's going to be next week. We don't know where any of these guys are going to be next week. We don't know where Jakob's going to be next week. And frankly, probably neither does he. So this team is going in any direction. It's a little bit weird for some guys. Maybe it's not so weird for Scotty because he knows he's going to be here. And it's not so
Yeah.
weird for Grady because he knows he's going to be here. And maybe IQ and RJ know they're going to be here. But apart from those four guys, everyone's on the block. Everyone's movable. And everyone knows that. So it's a little bit tough, to judge like the buy-in level of a player on a really bad team. But we have seen guys who left this team, right? And blew up. Pascal Siakam was really efficient today, in a loss. OG Anunoby has been beasting it. Precious Achua is even doing well. So it's like, what would Jakob Poeltl look like as what would he look like right now on I'm trying to put him on a team that makes sense. What would he look like on Miami right now? as their like backup 25-minute per game big? Or what would he look like on Philly right now? Stepping in place of Embiid, with those players around him, playing with Maxey. Like, I feel like he'd be better, right? So again, if the goal is eventually to make the Raptors good, you do have to understand that the Raptors themselves are not capable of making players look good right now. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah. At the same time, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but the early in the third, he got hooked very early in the third. Like I think it was what 10 minutes left on the clock. Darko hooked him, and you saw. I don't know if you saw his facial expression or his body language.
Mm-mm.
Right when he got hooked, but I don't know what it was. It just felt off to me. It was almost like a like why am I being taken off kind of expression. And Darko had to talk to him. I don't know if you saw the clip. It was a very like it was a glance. It wasn't long. But I did notice that, and I thought that was also really weird.
Yeah, I mean, look, like you potentially brought him in to guard the Embiids and Jokic's and Şengün's, I guess, of the world, and he struggled in all those matchups. It's not a good matchup for any of those guys. So it begs the question: if he's not a good matchup for those guys, who is he a good matchup for?
Yeah.
And yeah, this may end up becoming one of those really, really, really big miscalculations for the Raptors. I'm not ready to sell him. Obviously, he's had some really, really promising moments over his first, I'd say, about 80 games with the Raptors so far between last year and this year. But yeah, it would be fair to expect a 28-year-old center to be closer to the decline than the incline. So yeah.
So you just said you wouldn't sell him. Would you say you wouldn't, like, as in you wouldn't trade him?
Oh, I would trade him 100 times out of 100, but that's not like, I don't mean like, I wouldn't sell my stock on him. Basically, like, I wouldn't consider him like hopeless.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't put it past him to be really productive member of next year's team. If next year's team is, I don't know, better and makes more sense and is competing for something. I just think at this stage in his career, what is he playing for if he's not playing for wins? Like, I don't know. Maybe that's a cop out, because certainly, Thaddeus Young has had some really good games, and he's certainly not playing for shit right now, other than maybe a contract to extend his career. But yeah, I don't know. There are no easy answers for this. Honestly, anyone you bring into this mess ultimately becomes a part of the mess at this point. I think a lot of people are perhaps incorrectly or correctly down on Darko Rajakovic right now. I think it's pretty clear that the Raptors are now kind of in the tank mode, right? Like,
Yeah.
that Pascal trade sort of signaled it, right? So anyway, Marwan, thanks a lot for calling it, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
See ya. Okay. Let's see. We got 3. Okay. I could bring all 3 of you on at the same time, but that rarely ever works, because it almost feels like one person talks way more. So Spooky Ghostwriter, what's up? Let's try to limit this to 5 minutes. What's up?
Right. Okay. I'll be quick. 3 questions.
Sure.
Question 1. Do you know if it's possible to just forfeit protections on our pick to San Antonio? Just like tell San Antonio it doesn't matter if it's the first pick or the 5th pick, you're getting it. Just so like we have certainty for next year.
I feel like they would have to sign off on that, but I cannot imagine a situation in which they wouldn't sign off on that. So why would you do that? Like, why would you? This almost feels like eliminating a stop loss for no reason. Why would you? Like, that's what a protection is. It's stop loss. So like,
Yeah.
why would you do this?
Personally, it's just
So you can get over it.
I'm sick of all the conversation as a fan, I guess, and it's
About
okay.
tanking?
We've lost this pick. Let's move on. Eat this bullet, and Bill starts scouting for 2025 or late 2024, late first round.
Yeah, I cannot imagine a world in which the Raptors would do that. That feels like a very emotionally driven move. But yeah, what's your second question?
Second question. So, of the players on the team right now, what would you say the odds of each of them getting moved are?
Okay. Scotty, RJ, Emmanuel Quickly, less than. Okay, Scotty 0%, Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett less than 2 to 5%. Grady Dick less than 10%. Jakob less than 15%. And then everyone else is between 50 and like 90%. Everyone. Like maybe they see something in Jordan Nwora at this point. Maybe he's like exempt from it because he makes so little money and he can't be traded with anybody. But I can't think of anybody else. Jonte Porter, maybe. Obviously, he's a two-way. But yeah, guys like Thad. Okay, maybe Garrett Temple is another guy that you can probably say is like pretty safe because he's a big vet and he's useful and whatnot, continuity, etc. Maybe Dennis Schroeder is a little bit more safe because of his relationship with Darko, and obviously, like he's been pretty good, man. Like he's been pretty good, but like honestly, he might not be safe because maybe he's the one guy that a lot of other teams could actually use right now. So I don't know. I don't think anyone else is really safe, but I think like the most likely guys to be moved are guys like Boucher and Brown.
Right. Okay. Final question. It's looking like there's going to be 2 injury reserve spots in the Eastern Conference. Randall and Embiid both look like they're not going to be around for at least a month from the look of things. Who do you believe the commissioner is going to put in their place?
Well, I would love for Scotty to make it, but I'm not sure he will. I could see Kristaps Porzingis making it. Trae Young. Yeah, probably Trae and Kristaps, or Trae and wait. I mean, you're replacing 2 bigs, right? So therein lies maybe that's an advantage for Scotty, right? I wonder if and this would be so weird, but I wonder if OG, like I know it's so dubious and so crazy, but the narrative around him, changing the entire Knicks prospects, how good the Knicks have been recently, it would be such a wild card, but to replace at least Randall, it would be the most fair selection because it would at least be another player that's on the same team as him. And I'd be really happy for him too. Pascal is another long shot, but I doubt it. So yeah, I could see Kristaps and Trae Young.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Spooky Ghost Rider, thanks a lot. By the way, are you an actual writer?
I'm a grad student. I work on policy a lot, so I do a lot of writing.
You work on policy and what?
Governmental policy. My postgraduate career can be described as lawyer light.
Really?
Well, it's lawyer adjacent, but
okay. Do you know a lot about copyright law?
Copyright, not particularly. I work with just a lot of land use.
Land use?
Yeah. So like building houses, building the building industry.
It's interesting. Yeah. I've been digging like through legal cases for the last 3 days as well for one reason or another that I'm not able to disclose right now. But yeah, it is very, very interesting what you do. I actually wanted to be a lawyer. So yeah, fun fact. Yeah. All right, man. Thanks a lot for calling in. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
RJ McLeod, what's going on?
What's up, Rob? How's Pendants?
Pendants planning is going behind schedule, but it's going cool. We announced our first batch of films, which was really cool. Yeah, that's what's going on with Pendants, and I'm glad I have Pendants to distract me from the massacre that I just saw today.
Really? Well, one, I hope it goes well, and I hope whatever you're going through, you get through it, that you're not able to disclose. But 2, I'm not that mad at this game, because if the direction we picked is tanking, I don't think you saw anything bad from IQ and Scotty, besides defense, but the whole team sucked at defense. I think Scotty had a good game. Well, I think both the All-Star snubs, Şengün and Scotty, they kind of showed out. I liked it. IQ, in the second half, him and Scotty caught a rhythm, and I remember we had a conversation where you said you would like IQ to be the typical 2, not the table-setting 1.
Yep.
And I think he showed a lot of shades of that in the second half, and
Hell
that's
yes, he
what I
did.
wanted to see. I
Yep.
loved it. Scotty found him a couple times. I loved it. Some all right point of attack. Scotty just looked overall better because he didn't have to guard the rim so constantly. He had some rotations there, and I think he did decent, but it just didn't look like he was playing on dead legs. So, and
I
Grady's a
agree.
dog. He played so well today.
1
But
for 8, and you thought he played well, eh? I agree.
yeah, I mean, it was all good shots. After an off season, he puts on some muscle. I think he's gonna be a good player.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
but so that's the core. I think if they did good, like if we pick tanking, it is what it is. Like we don't have anything to be mad about. But also, I think you felt the effect of not having Jonte. IQ couldn't really get space on a lot of things because the paint was so clogged. It was tough.
I think they just they're a pretty good home team, man. Like it sucks to admit that Fred VanVleet's team is pretty good, but they're pretty good. And trust me, it's not all him. He's a part of it. He hit those 2 big threes to end that first quarter, and that was huge, right? Was it the first
Yeah,
quarter or second quarter? I think it was the first quarter.
it was the end of the first. He hit that fade.
Yeah, he hit 2 threes, and then I mean, he had what 8 points at that point. He had 2 layups and 2 threes. He scored 2 points the rest of the game. He didn't need to do he didn't need to do shit. He just watched his team decimate, his old team.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
the Shengun effect. Even Jalen Green. Let me deviate a little bit off Raptors. Oh, Jalen Green. He's been kind of trash, but I think if he accepts this being the second option, like that Jamal Murray role, he could be a really good player. Really good player.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you don't defend NBA players, they're great.
He's been
All of
averaging
them.
30 the last 4 games. Like it's not just this game.
No, I know. He's been playing really, really well, and kudos to him. I think I mentioned, I think it was like 3, 4, 5, 6 trade shows ago. I think there were like a couple of let's trade for Jalen Green.
Really.
Yeah, because I mean he has a connection with Scotty. You don't have that skill set on your lineup. I think when we did a couple of those open trade shows and people wanted to trade like Bruce Brown for Jalen Green, I was just like, geez, of course, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, I mean, he's still a pretty one-dimensional player. He still gives up a lot on defense, but what
He
he
got
brings on offense
better.
is pretty interesting.
I agree. He also added a little bit of playmaking chops.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
I think we could maybe develop him.
Maybe.
Yeah. Real quick before I go 2 questions.
Mhm.
You had said one of the All Stars. You thought Derek White had a case.
I think he has a very loose analytics case. He's been
I
really
think
good this year.
he had one, but like the last month he shot 39% from the field.
That's fair. And that's the same case with Scotty, right? He just kind of dipped at the wrong time. Paolo ascended at the wrong time, and boom, there you go.
But Scotty, he was guarding the best player every night. He held Curry for 2 for 14.
Hey, man,
And
Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith said it. He said, Scotty Barnes is the biggest snub. I was like shocked out of my mind. I was like, really? That's amazing.
that's a dope.
It was a lot. It was look, here's the thing. I don't hate Scotty not making this. I'll tell you why. Because you remember that interview that I did with Brian? I don't know if you watched the whole thing, but we were
I
talking
watched the
about.
second one. I don't watch the first one.
Okay. So the second one that we just did last week or 2 weeks ago. And yeah, I mean, we were talking about it. Like if he doesn't make it, yeah, maybe it's a good thing. Like he can
He
get
gets rest.
rejuvenated and rest, and like this will be very good for his body. Like his body has gone through insanity like this season,
Yeah.
right? He needs like that time to just kind of recoup and figure out what the hell he's doing, right? And I mean, look, they've obviously talked to him. They've obviously said, listen, this is your team now. And he's obviously feeling like the pressure of that, right? Not in a bad way. I
Right.
think he played pretty well tonight. And overall, this
Agree.
season has been really good. But that being said, in order to be the guy, in order to be the first option on a pretty good team, you need to address some of the skill gaps that he has, right? And I'm
Right.
wondering if right now it wouldn't be just advisable to just shut him down and just put him into a lab, like an incubator, and just make him a complete player. Like maybe shut him down for 10 games, put him through a program where you're going to work on him with his handle, work on the dribble package, and just fuck the games. Fuck the games. Who cares? You're not winning these games, right? You're on the road. It's not even about, like whatever. The all-star thing isn't on the table. All NBA is gone. Like none of this is happening anymore, right? So what is the advantage of running a guy into the ground, playing with bums, no offense, who are not going to be on this team next year, trying to develop chemistry with players that he's not going to play with next year? What is the point of any of this? You're just running miles into the body of a guy who's led his team in minutes for 3 straight years. And I understand reps and I understand all of that, but game reps are super overrated, right? They're super overrated. He's not a dumb player. He needs skill work, rest, recovery. Okay, this is what he needs. He needs probably a better game day, ritual. He probably needs a lot of sleep right now. He needs rest. Like I'm just seeing a guy who's tired, man. Like I was watching this guy like burst to the sky earlier in the season, like really, like soaring and getting blocks.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this guy get like 8 inches off the ground right now, barely. Offense and defense. He's just sore. He's sore everywhere. He's probably playing through pain. He's probably playing through tendonitis. Let it go. Like I appreciate the professional approach of like every night I'm just going to go out there and give it my all. But it's like, bro, like there's no need. There's no need. You're a star
He
player
has a
now.
lot to prove.
Take your 15 games off. That's really not him, and I get that. And he wouldn't want to let his teammates down, and I get that too. But at this point, if you're trying to lose, whatever. Give IQ those reps. Give Grady those reps. Play Grady 40 minutes a night, and just fucking be done with it. Yeah.
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 Well, I see both cases. I mean, how long is the All-Star break? Like, how many days would he get?
Like 7.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, besides traveling, like reserves don't really play that much anyway. You just be on the bench and have to pose for the media.
It's the travel. There's like events around All-Star. You're up all night. Your parties. It's a grind. Emotionally, mentally, it's a grind. It's always a grind. Every player who's ever been interviewed about it has said it was emotionally exhausting. You're basically doing media circuits and all that stuff. So even though there's an open practice, there's a couple open practices I think for each team. So you're still playing basketball, right? So yeah.
Fair enough. I see both cases then. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, even if the season's done, like you could shut him down after the All-Star game,
Yeah. What is there to gain from like rest, recover, live to fight another day? That's what I would do. I honestly I would have a conversation with them and say, look, we don't want to shut you down for the season, but we do want to shut you down for 10 games. We want to do for you what we just did for Jakob, basically, which is just 2.5 to 3 weeks. You sit, you develop. Practice, you better engage. Skill work, engage. But games, going out there, guarding everybody, no, forget it, and then tank. And then if you lose your pick, you lose your pick. Shit, but I don't know. Anyways, man, thanks a lot for calling in. Appreciate it as always.
For sure. Peace.
Yeah. Okay, Lane and Coach Mo, what's up, guys?
Yo, what's up?
What's going on?
What's up?
What's going on? Long time no talk.
Yeah, well, the trade deadline can't come fast enough. All-Star break can't come fast enough.
While we talk, I'm just going to flash the Pendants stuff. Don't mind the screen. Continue on.
Watching today's game, I just couldn't help but think the decisions or lack thereof decisions since Scotty got traded, those chickens came home to roost tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the teams that have passed us while we just were just reliving the glory days, right? Doing the longest championship victory lap you'll ever see in your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go through the list. Then we've always been better than the Knicks. We're no longer better. Cleveland, Indiana, Orlando, Chicago and Atlanta are above us, but I don't think they're necessarily better positioned for next year. But then you have OKC, Minnesota, Sacramento, New Orleans, Utah. I mean, Houston. We've been lapped as it's like it was malpractice for 3 years. I know everybody's been saying what they've been saying, but the reason why it's so bad is because their room for error as a front office, it's minimal now. You had cushion, you had room to play with, you had assets that had value. Now you need to be batting near 100. And IQ has to become something, or we don't have a chance, right?
You don't like what you saw today?
I
6 for
well,
11 from 3.
yeah,
matter.
but Rob, if we're gonna be honest, we needed him in the first half. He was nowhere to be found. When
He's
the
coming
dam
back,
broke,
he's coming back from an injury,
no,
man.
I get that. When the dam broke, he was nowhere to be found. And when the life rafts were on the water, yeah, now he's like, hey guys, what happened? It's too late. And nothing against him. This is his first game back, but the last 3 years, they're coming home to roost, and they need to make up for their mistakes because they got a lot of making up to do. A lot of things have to go right for us to have a chance because these other teams that I mentioned, yeah, they got more talent. Because it's like we have Scotty Barnes, he's going to get better. Paolo's not going to get better. Chet's not going to get better. We saw Sengun, he's not going to get better. I mean, the talent gap we saw tonight was crazy.
Yeah.
Facts. Thompson and Whitmore lapped our young guys, other than Scotty and IQ. But I'm talking like young guys, like lapped them. It's lapped any young guy we've had since we drafted Scotty. Like an organization that was so proud about their development and the Raptors 905, and we find hidden gems. When's the last hidden gem we found?
We had to.
That's a difference maker. I'm not talking Jonte Porter. I'm talking that's a difference
Siakam.
maker.
We were lapping the guy we got, Siakam. We were lapping him around. You know when Usain Bolt or an Olympic medalist takes their flag and runs around. That's what we've been doing for like 3 years. We've been lapping great stories in our franchise of Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet and even OG, and we've just been lapping them around over and over and over and over and over again.
The last two, though, I feel like could still contribute to the next really good Raptors team. The issue is contracts, and we already made a choice. Like when Scotty was not traded for Kevin Durant, and it was Siakam in those conversations instead, we had a choice that this was going to be Scotty's team in the next year or two, right? So, I mean, Siakam and OG, if they were still on this team right now, could we be really damn good next year?
It was never Siakam.
Yeah.
It was never. I think you're wrong. I think you could have kept OG and Fred. I think the guy to trade early on was Siakam. I think that's the one guy you flipped at his highest value, and you kept everything the same. We're in a so much better place.
I don't know. Would you rather give Fred $40 million or Pascal $40 million?
Fred was never going to get $40 million. Not with us.
Well, I know, but he walked anyway.
I think you could have got the most. I think Siakam and Barnes would have always kind of been redundant. There would have been an overlap, and I don't think they're good enough to have an overlap like Dwayne Wade or.
I don't think. I think I think analytics will suggest that they really worked well together. It wasn't always the most eye pleasing on the court, but analytically, Pascal and Scotty works better than OG and Scotty on the court.
Well, it depends what you got for Siakam. It depends on what you got for Siakam. It depends on what you could get for Siakam. Because at their highest peak,
wait, hold on. You don't think that Scotty and OG work together well? I thought they worked together beautifully. I never had the right pieces around them, man. You need to stretch big with those two guys. You need a dynamic guard.
I really feel like it was off and on, but I mean, yeah, you're right. You can make a point though for anybody these past few years, and at this point, I mean, like, it is what it is. Like, the losses are what they are, you know? Like, I'm sorry. I really don't think Yak's going to be on this roster after the trade deadline. Like, he has got to be.
I think he will be.
You do? You think he's going to be on this roster?
He's got to be fuming?
I think that I don't think that he's fuming. I think that this is a situation he didn't sign up for.
So what? You're a professional basketball player.
And you got the contract.
That's true. But he can go. I mean, you don't think he's had conversations with Masai?
About, hey, if we're tanking, I'm out of here.
No,
no doubt. But also, hey, $19 million center who can't shoot 4 years. Not a really huge market for you. You know, no offense. There aren't a ton of teams out there that are willing to give up something of substantial value for a player like this. And I got to be honest, like, this is disaster because, you know, from the Raptors side of this, you gave up your pick for him. You gave up 3 picks for this guy.
Yep. Yeah. And the guys
2 second rounders for a first rounder, and you worsened your pick last year. and you made it so that he boosted Fred VanVleet's, contract value to the point where you
Yeah.
couldn't get him, and then you get to get roasted all off season. Now you're going to trade him for scraps? Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
Rob, if you had to quantify how many years or year that trade set us back, just that one trade,
You remember my live?
bro.
The Raptors are about to make a huge mistake.
Me personally, that trade bare minimum set us back 1.5 years. Minimum
That
to me.
If we don't
may
get
be
our
true.
pick, I agree. If we don't get our pick, I completely
That
agree. 'Cause
trade.
If we
So if we do get our pick and we lose like a top 10 pick next year, still same
okay.
situation.
if
Even
we
worse
get our
situation.
if we get our pick this year, you have
Mhm.
to think management is gonna ownership is gonna sit down with management in the front office and say, you're forced to be good this year. Like, we are dumping money bags to be good this year. This is going on Scotty Barnes' 4th year. He's our
Mhm.
franchise guy. We're going to build the best team possible around him, and you're going to get it done, or your asses are on the line
With
because of the
what?
choices you made these past 4 to 5 years.
With what? Build a good team with what?
Find out how, man. Find out how.
Because
We've
all the
done it
teams ahead of
before.
us we're not going to be better than the teams ahead of us. Like, okay, let's do an exercise. We're going to go and let's say, who are we going to surpass next year? So I'm going to name, we're not going to be better than Boston or Milwaukee or New York or Cleveland or Philadelphia or Indiana. So are we going to
It's
be better
too
than
early
Miami?
for these judgments, dude. Too early.
Yeah,
First of all,
it's
you
way too
don't
early.
know you don't know what Boston's gonna look like. You don't know what like Philly's gonna look like. You don't know what Indiana's gonna look like.
This
You don't know what
Embiid
any of these
stuff's
teams gonna
scary.
look.
We're a
This
playing
Embiid-
team next year. That's our ceiling.
I don't think that's our ceiling at all, dude. And I mean, like, honestly, like, here's the thing. Oh, I hate games like this because they make people panic a lot. And
I'm not
they,
panicking. It is what
no,
it is.
I get it. Like, but what I'm saying is, like, why did you lose tonight's game? Why do you think you lost tonight's game? Is it because of anybody who actually figures to be here next year? Probably not.
No.
You're losing games because Bruce Brown literally cannot make contact with the rim on a layup. On
I
a
really hope
layup, bro.
I
He
really
won't
hope
even
other
shoot
teams.
open
I
threes.
went from Bruce Brown fan to damn, Bruce Brown is struggling to I don't know if Bruce Brown is an NBA player to literally today wondering legitimately, I don't know if Bruce Brown's a professional basketball player. Now, obviously, he is, and he's a very good one. And I get all of that. And he had its really inspiring defensive play. And I think he finished a layup at some point. But the bar has gotten so exceedingly low for this $22 million player that you got back for Pascal Siakam. I know it's a little bit disingenuous to say that, but damn, do you wish we'd pushed for Jalen Smith now, huh? Holy shit.
I mean, you waited that long. Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think, like, look, this is, if I could say one thing that I don't think that the Messiah and Bobby necessarily get too well, they get basketball real well. I think they understand sort of, basketball and growth and stuff like that. I don't think they get like human beings super well. Just understanding like the malaise in the locker room right now as the team gets obliterated,
Oh yeah,
totally directionless, totally. It's one thing to go and like try to develop the youth when your youth is Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, Alperen Şengün.
Mhm.
You
Jabari
can
Smith.
Jabari Smith Jr. Like, my God, like the
Yeah.
embarrassment of riches that is that entire roster in terms of just potential, right? It's another thing to do it when it's Scotty and he doesn't need these types of reps. He needs like legit first option, high
Yes.
leverage moment reps. He does not need to be playing 35 minutes in a blowout against Houston on the road.
Being the
where
only
his
guy
teammates-
busting his ass on both ends.
Yeah, and delivering passes that are, basically resulting in blanks at the rim. Like, this must be so frustrating for him. I can only imagine.
Having his only outlet pass be Bruce Brown or Dennis Schroeder strategically open by the opponents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. It's
yeah.
something. It's something for sure. I mean, you can't put too much stock in it, but at the same time, like Coach Mo was saying, like, we've really taken a step back, like, compared to all these other teams. I feel like
They've lapped us. They've lapped us while we just sat on our hands.
We had the secret
Lost
sauce,
by 5.
and now they have the secret sauce. Like they have Michael's secret stuff.
Okay, first of all, I just want to remind you, we got bounced in the play-in last year. Okay, we got
Yeah.
beat. We got beat by Detroit while Pascal Siakam played. Can we please be real about who this team has been for the last 2 years,
Oh,
3
100%.
years,
I'm
right?
saying back. Yeah, I'm
So
saying back to like
these
21.
issues persisted, like going back to fucking the bubble, Tampa, all of it, man. Tampa, this team was gutless occasionally, you know, night
Yeah.
to night. You didn't know what was happening. Like the Raptors
The
had
bubble.
this like beautiful culture, right?
Mhm.
This accountability, this gamesmanship. Like I was just always so surprised how few goose eggs they put up. You know, like most teams have like that night where they just don't show up, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like the Raptors so rarely had those nights that I was like, man, these guys are such tryhards. They'll win like 56, 57 games and get bounced in the second round by Cleveland every year. But they were, and I don't even know if that's like necessarily the greatest strategy in the world to exert yourself in the regular season, but it was a professional effort every single night. They were prepared to play, right? And
Mhm.
this year, it's felt like 14 times this year, maybe 12 to 14 times this year. They have just come out and beat themselves. Now,
Mhm.
how badly would they have lost had they not beat themselves? Maybe they would have still lost. I have no idea. But there are so many times, and even games where they won, they almost beat themselves. Washington, San Antonio come to mind, Charlotte. Like, there's so many games like this where I'm just like, my God, this team is so fucking immature. Now, you can throw this back on coaching, certainly. You can throw this back on leadership. I think it is a combination of chemistry, coaching, leadership, belief, all that stuff. Look, the truth is, this team came out looking pretty decent for like 7 games. They were 1 game under 500, 7 games in. And then something just happened and it didn't look right anymore. I didn't see the same effort. I didn't see the same pop. I didn't see the same camaraderie. Something happened at that 7th game. I keep going back to that game against San Antonio where Scotty lit up, you know, the Spurs and came back, where I think something must have been said or something happened. And it just felt like this team felt different. He felt different. Everything felt different after that game. It's like the belief was gone. And suddenly, you know, boom, you're 4 games under 500, 5 games under
You
500, 6 games under 500. And I don't know what the fuck happened there.
do you mind if I share my opinion on that?
Sure. What
So
happened?
where I really saw the lapse from this team was after that Miami game where Schroeder took like 20 shots. And then afterwards, like the media made it their job to make sure to let everyone know that, oh, he apologized though. He apologized though. I think the team started to see through this shit because don't get me wrong, I think Darko's done a great job and it doesn't show on paper, obviously. I like how he's sticking to man defense to try to get everyone to be better individual defenders instead of just going zone all the time. Like I really respect that because that's what we're going to need in the long run.
Mhm.
But I think the team started to see how much Darko protected Dennis. And I really think that's when the rift started. And that's when I think Pascal was like, damn, if Dennis can do it, I can do it. And that's when you saw OG started to kind of distance himself and not care so much. And almost same thing with Scotty too. And I think that Miami game is really when the rift started, in my opinion.
You know, you mentioned that San Antonio game. You know, when
Mhm.
Masai was like, "You wish you would have seen Scotty's progression this year." I feel like after that game, they were like, "Okay, we've seen enough. We're trading. We're really gonna trade. Like we're going for
That
it."
that
And I
might
think
make
at
sense.
some
Yeah.
point, huh?
That makes sense. Yeah.
And OG's defensive effort just dropping. I think his agent and him were made aware. Yeah, it's just a matter of specifics, but you're going to be traded. You know. Because there was I mean, compare OG's defense that first game against Anthony
Edwards.
Edwards, and then what he was the last like 2 weeks. It's not even the same player.
No, he knew he was gone.
He knew he was gone.
The Raptors against the Heat. I'm trying to find this game. I think it was
It was like mid to late November, I believe.
yes, it was November 16th. Okay, let me pull
The
up the
one
record
we
here.
got destroyed. Yeah.
No, we didn't get destroyed. Here, look.
We would have won the game if Dennis didn't throw bricks.
Oh yeah, that was the Dennis game. You're right. You're right. Yeah, that was the Dennis game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe this is the game in question right here. Let's see. Delano Banton. What?
I think that's from last year.
My bad. What the
It
hell?
was from last year. This year's emo. Jimmy,
This year is Jimmy Butler.
not Rasta Jimmy.
He's so funny, man. I love Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, me too. Okay, let's see here. So the game in question is probably this one.
Yes, we had already
December.
lost a few in a row, and then Dennis kind of had the takeover. He thought because
So we were 9-12 at that moment. So 3 games under 500, which is not that bad.
Yeah.
Scotty had 11. Okay, let's check the box score.
We haven't won 3 in a row all year.
no pizza
That is
party.
fair.
Even prior to his announcement of the.
Oh, 4 for 18. Here we go. Yeah, this one right here.
That's where I felt like the season went downhill.
I mean, you're 3 games under 500. How bad was it at that point? You know, it's worth saying. But yeah, right there.
Led the team in shot attempts. That's when he used to play 35 minutes a night.
I don't complain about him anymore, which is really funny, right? Like
Today he played 13 minutes. Today he played 13 minutes.
he?
13 minutes. Yeah, that's it.
No way.
Who,
Oh no,
Dan?
sorry. That's halftime. What am I talking about? That's crazy. Let me refresh. 22. That's a victory in my book.
Dude, he played well. Why is that a victory?
I want him
Anyways,
gone. I just don't want him on my team. Him, Bruce Brown, and Jalen McDaniels. If they're off my team and everybody else stays, I'm a happy camper.
Bro, can we give Boucher
Okay.
some run? What is going on with that?
Okay. So let's see. The Raptors lose to Portland right here. That's how you know they're fucked in the head, right? Like right away. 3 losses. Chicago, that was tough. Philly, I think you played pretty well. Scotty Barnes had a huge game, right? He hit that step back relocation 3. I love that.
No,
But Portland was like, now you're fucking, you really. And Scotty started out like the season up until San Antonio. Dude, like, do you remember what this guy was averaging at that point? He was averaging like 24 points per game. He was crazy. He was going
He had like
nuts.
8.5 box plus minus, and people were calling him like an early MVP candidate. It was wild.
Yeah. And the Raptors were winning. The Raptors
Yeah.
were 4-4 going into Dallas, right? Then they lose Boston. Then they beat. So they're, again, 10 games into the season, they're 500. And I remember saying, if around the 20 game mark, they're around 500, they'll be fine. And here we are at the 19 game mark, we were 9-10. That's November 29th. That was after my birthday. Okay. Then they lose to New York. This is where the losses started to pile up. Up until this point, you're seeing loss, win, win. It's kind of 500-ish. So something happened like December 1st. New York versus New York. Ironically, the team that you would eventually make the trade with. New York, Miami, Charlotte, New York. It's back-to-back games in New York. Anunoby has a huge game offensively there, auditioning for his future team. And there, I think right here, OG's defense just fell off a cliff in these games. All right, we were noticing that. And then when you beat Atlanta, lose against Atlanta, beat Charlotte, lose against Denver, lose against Philly, lose against Utah, beat Washington, lose again, and then you inevitably, trade OG here, and then you lose against Detroit. So basically, this is where the season was lost, right there, throughout this stretch, right here. And I think losing to Detroit is just like the crescendo. That's the bottom. That's the moment. But you wipe out that. This team went from being 1 game under 500 at 9-10 to being 8 games under 500 over the stretch. And they've never caught back up. And now from 8 games under 500, fast forward, we are now 14 games under 500. With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game losing streak, 4 game losing streak. Like, this is insanity. So yeah, the season is done. It's over. There's no play-in. There's no nothing. You lose this way to Houston. I mean, yes, of course, mathematically speaking, you can string seven wins or something crazy like that, and people would be like, "Oh my God, what a story!" This team is. But yeah, I mean, the seeds were there for for a half decent team earlier on. They were a 500 team. It was going okay. And I started noticing, like, right in that Dallas game, you'll notice, like, Siakam's role changed on offense.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Post-up.
that really, really changed everything that we were doing as a team too. You know,
Yeah,
like
we
it
went
sort of
from
became
1-5.
about auditions, Siakam, trades, etc. So now, you know, you've sort of cleared the deck. These guys are gone. And now it's almost like you're counting out the clock till next season. You know what I mean? So yeah. But that was an
Yeah.
interesting dissection. It's crazy to think that at the nearly 20 game mark, you were 500 almost.
Yeah. And I remember everyone was like, yeah, I'm not going to judge this team till 20 games in. And I think the consensus 20 games in at 9-11 was we can maybe
It's a
do
play-in
something.
team. Yeah.
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 And all of a sudden, like I said, I think it was that Miami game. Because you could have won that game until like 2 minutes left, and then Dennis just decided to hit takeover mode and took like 5 straight shots, and they were all bricks. And I feel like that's when the team chemistry and camaraderie and all that really started to go downhill, because you were seeing guys celebrate each other before that, and then after that, I didn't see a dude celebrate another guy for a while. And it was kind of funny that Dennis was the one that called out the celebration, because he's the one that killed it, in my opinion.
I think it was probably somewhere between Siakam and Dennis. I think it was those two to be and of course, you know, OG just sort of not dialing in on defense the last. It's crazy to watch him play for New York. You know, I understand they're a better team, they have better pieces, whatever, but like, my God, the effort level, and you're just like, you know, was he our real tank commander? I don't know. Anyways, any final thoughts, guys? I want to get to the post game. You're free to stick around after if you want to talk, but yeah, like,
I want
most
to talk
likely.
about. I want to say something about OG trying hard. I like playing better with the Knicks. I just feel like there's a direction there. Like they know who they are. They know what their goal is. We've been wandering. It's like, you know what I mean? It's the front office has put the players in the most weird position, and they're not putting Darko in the greatest position this year, right? They're at fault.
Yeah.
I agree.
You guys maybe talked about this tonight. I literally got here and called in because I was on the phone with somebody. But why the hell isn't Boucher playing? Like, has anything came out about that? Like, what is going on there? Because when he does play, it's like 5-6 minutes. I mean, I get it. Not the smartest guy in the world, but I feel like he gives you energy, like a lot of energy that could have been really, really needed tonight, especially in the first quarter.
He's not allowed to touch 20 minutes. It feels like he's not allowed to.
You don't want him to play 20 minutes?
No, it's just like he's forbidden from getting there.
Over Bruce Brown right now, hell yeah.
It might have been matchup dictated. I mean, I don't think you want to watch Chris Boucher against Alper and Şengün, dude.
But I feel like Chris Boucher against Smith would have been a good matchup. Don't you think? Like playing him at the 4, that would have been solid today.
What resistance did Yak give to Şengün? Honestly, Şengün.
Yeah.
What resistance was there?
I
mean one little
enough.
fake, one shimmy, and he's gone.
He's quick.
Yo,
Weirdly
by the way,
enough.
watching today's game, man, and knowing Marc Gasol retired, I miss that guy so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
so
Like, Raptor
much.
fans are all like very weirdly nostalgic right now because they're thinking about the good old days. But the problem is the good old days is like they were never really as good as you remember. But yeah, Marc
One
Gasol
year.
was as good as I remember.
Oh yeah,
He was awesome. Yeah. But yes, obviously, you know, the entire pregame show being about Fred. I mean, you literally had to go on Twitter and be like,
Oh my god,
is RJ Barrett playing? No. Emmanuel Quickly playing? Like, they just made it all about him. Doug Smith and Michael Grange writing basically love letter articles, you know, kind of slandering Scotty in the context of it.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just weirdos, man. Anyways, thanks a lot, guys, for calling in. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
See ya.
yeah.
All right, let's get to that video, and I desperately need some water. Okay.
How you got that tie bruise and how painful it was, or
Sacramento on the West Coast trip. Kevin Herter needed me.
yeah. So you played through it for a couple of games.
Yeah, and it wasn't getting better when I was playing through it. So.
And, I mean, how did you feel? Like, it's one thing to miss a week and then come back against a team playing at that kind of pace. It must have been little
Yeah,
jargon.
they're a good team. Mix of older guys and younger guys, talented young guys. But yeah, they play fast for sure.
And I was asking Darko, when you're playing against a team that is that athletic, what are the keys to prevent them from just kind of running out the gym?
I think trying to keep them out the paint, trying to keep them out of transition. We didn't do that at all. Being in shifts and helping each other on the drives and making them make that pass, keeping a tight shell. But we got to be better in that area. I got to be better on defense. But yeah.
How do you improve that exactly? Is that a matter of just being physical, like bumping cutters? Because we know a big thing was Jakob was out, so of course his presence was missed. But how does the rest of the team also help protect the paint?
I mean, you could say technique and stuff, but a lot of it is just defense. A lot of times, just decision to just do it. Offense is probably more technique and skill and things like that, but defense probably more just mindset to just be a step ahead, be in the right spots, to commit to helping each other. And I got to do a better job. We got to do a better job.
You're a Kentucky guy, obviously. Do you have much interaction or history with Shea, and what's your opinion on how he's kind of evolved the last couple of years?
Yeah, that's my guy. When I was struggling my freshman year, he used to hit me all the time, and then when I started playing good my sophomore year, he kept hitting me and things like that. But now he's playing at a All-NBA MVP level. It's going to be the same thing tonight as far as trying to show him bodies and be in gaps and try to make him give the ball up. So watch the film and try to be good.
Apart from the fact he's 6'6", is there an element of his game that allows him to be just so effortless in terms of where he can get to in front of the floor?
Yeah, I think just him being able to get to his spots, like you said, he's 6'6", so it'll be a good challenge for us, to try to, make him take some tough shots and, try to make him miss.
There are tons of great college programs. Of course, Kentucky's always one of the strongest ones, but what about that Kentucky program that translates so well to the NBA level?
I think first of all, the practices. When you go to Kentucky, you probably have 4 or 5, maybe 6 players on your team that are going to the NBA with you. So, and then when you get to the NBA, everybody's good. So it's kind of the same thing as far as being in practice against an NBA player every day in college, and then coming and playing against the best of the best. So you kind of it's kind of like almost like a JV program before you go to varsity in a way.
In terms of the injury, you said he wasn't getting any better while you were playing with it. Does it feel like it's mostly behind you now?
Still a little sore, but still a little sore. They told me I couldn't play a certain amount of minutes today, so just trying to get back. But I'll be all right. Be good.
And then, in terms of watching film, Darko was talking about how he sat down with you and Yak, and you went over some actions. What was your biggest takeaway from the film sessions with the two of you guys?
One, just really cool to just be able to sit down with Darko and have him. I'm big on learning and being able to get better that way and process information. So thankful for that, honestly. And then just being able to, pick each other's brains, talk basketball, and just seeing where we can be better offensively, defensively, how we can speed up the process of learning and speed up the process of competing and things like that. I think was a big takeaway.
Is there anything you took away exactly from Yak?
Yeah, they can really pass the ball. He has a high IQ. I kind of already knew that, but just sitting down and talking with him, I can tell even more.
When you see a team like that's that athletic, what does a team need to do to kind of slow that down? Because it just looked like Houston was a little faster, a little more aggressive, and you guys running back all the time.
First of all, offensive execution needs to be better. I thought we didn't do good enough job tonight of moving the ball. We ended up game with only 19 assists, and when you take tough shots, when you over dribble the ball, that just puts you in a tough position that you need to constantly be running back and guarding in transition. Sometimes bad shot is equivalent to turnover, and they were able to get out in transition, score a lot of points, and to score a lot of in the paint. Main thing is to have your defense set, to get all the 5 guys back, to be in good positions and to help each other. They are an athletic team. They have multiple players that can do a really good job of touching the paint, and you gotta be a team in order to stop that. You gotta have all 5 guys connected to stop them.
It didn't seem like you guys had a whole lot of intensity right from the start. Did you feel that, and what is there an explanation for it?
I wish I knew, Doug, the explanation for it. Yesterday probably was our best practice of the season. And based on that, I really hope that today we're going to go out there and really, really compete and play hard. And we just, I don't know the reason. But we were flat to start at the start of the game, and it just carried on. We had moments that we turned it on, but we were not able to sustain it.
You mentioned the offensive execution. It really looked, almost throughout that you were having a tough time touching the paint. Was that something they were doing, or it was just a lack of focus or intent, whatever word you want to use, by your guys?
Yeah, I don't know what word to use, but every time when you inject new players in a starting lineup and getting quickly back, obviously very excited to have him back, and Jakob to have him back. It's just like everybody's like, they were kind of like searching, like finding the rhythm, well, how they can play off of each other. So hopefully this film from tonight is going to be a really good film for us to study and to learn from, and hopefully next game we're going to be much better.
Going up against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander next game, not to look too far ahead, but he's one of the best offensive players right now in the league. Can you just give me some thoughts on him as you kind of mentally start to prepare for that?
You just mentioned his name, so I still did not get over there to start thinking about OKC and that preparation. So obviously one of the best guards in the league, extremely dynamic player that can touch the paint anytime he wants, a really good scorer. I believe he's averaging 31 points this year. So it's going to be, again, it has to be a team effort there in order to slow him down, make it really hard on him.
Thanks for watching the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel. Check out our latest video and subscribe for more.
Jalen McDaniels. Okay. I agree. Obviously, I think, putting in a whole bunch of new faces into the into the lineup, even though they're welcome pieces back, right? You obviously can't make an argument that you're better without some of these guys like Jakob and Jalen, whatever. Did I say Jalen? It's working. He's in my head. You're not going to make a case that you're better without Emmanuel Quickly or Jakob Poeltl, but those guys haven't played much with Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown hasn't played much with them. None of these guys have played with Nwora ever, right? In a basketball game. So even though you can do things in practice, right? Yeah. Next game against OKC, that is going to be really tough. Really tough. Let me just take a quick look at the schedule, and I'll just flash it on the screen, and we just go through where the Raptors are, and then we'll end this live on that. Thanks a lot to all the callers for calling in today. Appreciate it. And thanks to everyone for being super patient with this channel, as we are going to have a very slow month in terms of content creation this month as we work through pendant stuff. So let's see. Where are we? Why am I? What? Gosh. Where am I? That's the NBA schedule. I don't need the NBA schedule. But I typed in NBA schedule, and now I'm like pissed that I got the NBA schedule. It's like I fell asleep while listening to Darko Rajakovic. My bad. Okay. So let me pull this on the screen here. You really wanted Jordy. Tomorrow, well, tomorrow not being today, but tomorrow, 7 p.m. I guess that's Sunday, right? Yeah, I believe that's Sunday, 7 p.m. And then you have a back-to-back OKC and the Pelicans. This could be a bloodbath, man. And then you get a day off, and then you face a pretty hapless Hornets team. And then you're back and you're facing Fred VanVleet and his homecoming in Toronto. Man, if this is the reception our media gave him on the road, can you imagine what they're going to do to this guy when he comes back to Toronto? I expect them to be literally sitting on the tarmac at Pearson Airport waiting for Fred VanVleet with a limo and flowers. Like, come back and save us, dear savior. Right? Weren't things better? Things were better, right? They love Fred. Yeah, man, he always gave him a juicy quote. Right? And if you're the media, of course, you want a guy who gives you the quotes. You want a guy who gives you the stories. You want a guy who gives you the dirt. Because you don't have anything else to write. Ain't that the truth? Right? You don't have anything else to write. You just need Fred VanVleet calls out the bench. Fred VanVleet thinks we have funky lineups. What are you going to print? You're not going to get people interested in what Scotty Barnes had to say about the team, right? Like I love all these bring back. That's funny. Yeah. Look, there's that next game against Fred VanVleet will be after the trade deadline. I'm very curious to see what this team is going to look like. I think there's a lot of pieces that are on the chopping block for this team. I hope that the rest of the league can see that these teams, the pieces on our team are not being properly utilized, and could probably do a lot more in better situations. For the Raptors fans, this is probably going to be a little bit bittersweet because while you make necessary moves, you're going to watch players who didn't work for you go work elsewhere, and that's going to suck, right? If you trade Otto Porter and he goes to Golden State or he goes to Boston or he goes somewhere else, you might see him put up an 18-point game at some point this season with great defense. You're going to be like, we could have used that, right? Or maybe you trade Chris Boucher. But that's the thing. That's how basketball works. Better teams make players better, usually. And that's just, that's the nature of the beast. If Scotty Barnes right now got traded to OKC, he'd be better. Life would be easier. He'd have pieces moving around him. He'd have pressure moving off of him. He would look like a freaking all-star. He looks like an all-star here, but I mean, like, he would look like a superstar. But that's the thing, you got to develop that. You got to develop that by committee, right? Missing RJ sucks, right? But he's not the savior. Come on, let's get real. We're talking about RJ Barrett. He's not Michael Jordan. The Raptors are going to have to grow together. They're going to have to build together. They're going to have to develop together. I think this is going to be a tough year, in terms of just the product that you see on the court night to night. But hopefully through this process, there are some growth jumps, from guys like RJ. It's hard to forget, or it's easy to forget. RJ Barrett's 23 years old. Manny Quickly's 24. Scotty's 22. Grady is 20. It's a very young team. Okay? And they've had good moments. All these players have had good moments. Some of them have had a lot of bad moments too. So, yeah, I think I'm really interested to see where the trade deadline goes. I'm going to try to really, really wrap up pendant stuff. Not wrap up. Obviously, there's a ton to do, but I'm going to try to get ahead of pendant stuff. I've been a little bit behind the past 2 days because some shit came up that was really tough to deal with. But I'm going to try to get ahead of pendant stuff so that I can properly focus on the trade. And hopefully we can do a trade show, 4 or 5 hour trade show. And hopefully something good comes out of it, man. I would like some picks. I would like some young players. Actually, way more than picks. I want young players back. I know that people don't want pieces that help you win right now, but I just want pieces that can develop into something. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Cam Whitmore. I'm not saying Keontae George. I'm not saying, anything like that. I'm saying like just guys like who have lottery upside, like a Dyson Daniels. Could we trade a couple picks and a player for Dyson Daniels and stuff? Like that would be interesting to me to watch develop. That might be worth throwing a season and tanking because these are the development reps. Like I don't think this core is enough. Scotty, IQ, RJ. I think you need to add one very major piece to it. And by major, I mean like a piece that might be better than RJ and IQ. I think then it might make sense. So a player of that ilk would be like a Chet Holmgren or a Franz Wagner, like someone of that status. Now, how do you get a player of that status? Well, they don't grow on trees. So maybe you find that player with a top 6 pick this year, or maybe you have to trade for that player, or I don't know, exactly. A piece like that is not available. Yeah. Because that's the gap, right? Like everyone's too high in the pecking order right now. Like even if I believe that Scotty will definitely be a good first option, he can't be like Luka right now. Like he can be a soft 1A, but he can't be Luka. Like we've seen games earlier this season when he had teammates who could take a little bit of pressure off of him. Like people are acting like, oh wow, he's been thrust into first option, and this is he was first option. He was the leading scorer on this team the first like 6-7 games. What are you talking about? It's not like he was averaging 13 points per game as a role player. He was bombing threes, splashing threes left, right, and center, whatever. Rob Dillingham is that player. Maybe. I don't know how he fits in with Emmanuel Quickly, though. I'll tell you that. So I'm just saying, like, ideally, if you put Scotty in that one role, the second guy can't be too much worse than him. So it has to be a guy on the level of a Pascal Siakam, And even then, I feel like you're barely floating by, right? So you ideally want someone even better than Pascal Siakam to be Scotty's number 2, which might be triggering for some Siakam fans. Be like, what are you talking about? Pascal Siakam don't grow on trees. I agree. They don't. It's hard, Hey, that's cool. Someone just bought a Penn Dance ticket. Was it one of you guys? That's cool. Thanks a lot. Anyways, he's a really good player. Don't get me wrong. Super good player. But I just wonder, like, how small do you want to be in the backcourt? I think, like, here's the thing. I don't like building around players that limit my options in terms of, like, the other players I put on the court with them. So, yeah, sure. Emmanuel Quickly, hell of a player, hell of a talent. I like him a lot. And I think he's going to get a lot better. I do. Like, people who are panicking right now, like, really just give it some time, man. This guy's capable of putting 30, 40 points on the board in a hurry, He may not be Tyrese Maxey. He may never get there, but being something close to that, like, still puts you in top 35, consideration. And his work ethic is really good. Like, his work ethic is awesome. And I would really like to see, like, him and Scotty, like, have more of a connection on the court. And I think they would play really well off of each other. I have no idea how they're meshing off the court, but I think that that's one connection that could spark, like, a positive momentum for this team. If those two can see each other as people to lean on each other, like, there's this thing about greatness that it recognizes greatness in others, but also being really great is lonely, right? You need somebody else who kind of gets, like, what you're going through. I think that's, like, why greatness nurtures greatness to some extent. And it would just be really nice if these two could be like, okay, we're responsible for this shit. Let's do something. I don't know if you can thrust people into that role. I think they kind of just have to find themselves into it. So yeah, that is that. Bro, is that a picture of Masari? This is hilarious. This is the best troll account in the history of the world. It's dude, his name is Andrew Tate. And he has a picture of Masari. Yo, what did Masari do to deserve this shit? Andrew Tate, what are you doing? What are you doing to Masari, bro? That's so weird. Okay. We're gonna bring on one last caller for 5 minutes. Frank, what's going on?
Hey,
How you doing?
oh good. I didn't know if it was on yet. Yeah, good. Yeah, like woke up here in Spain just disappointed with the lackluster performance, and I'm just wondering, do you know why Jonte Porter's not playing or why he didn't play today?
I imagine he's injured. He was in street clothes.
Oh, that's too
Yeah.
bad. And still, I wish the media would ask. Like, I still don't understand why Otto Porter's not playing. Like, they have
Yeah.
Young playing, and he's like,
Yeah. I wonder if that is just playing because he's like probably the closest thing they have to a
go ahead.
center on the roster. Do you know what I mean? Like he might just be like their only hope to play at center. But yeah, someone said Chris is injured. Oh, yes, Marquise Noel, G League All-Star. Yes, he was a G League All-Star. So yeah. I don't know. It's very weird to see Otto not playing, and if winning was of any concern to this team, he would be playing. So
Yeah. But
that's
like
pretty
he had said
telltale.
back when before he was injured, the coach said that he would be playing him in the regular rotation. So I don't know what happened that plan changed, I guess.
I agree. Yeah. Um, Terrence Davis saying Otto might as well retire. He finessed us so bad. He didn't finesse anybody, dude. He's been a great vet. He's been a great locker room presence. He's been a great help to all the young kids. And you know what? I applaud him for agreeing to not play to help the young guys develop. Clearly, he doesn't need to play. He has a pretty lengthy injury history, and the Raptors are going nowhere. He doesn't need development reps, you know? So yeah,
But
but
like,
if I'm sure if they were trying to win, he would be playing.
but they should have started him. Like, okay, they had no punch, so he always, whenever you put him on the court, it's always positive. So there is
Who?
nothing.
Otto?
Otto Porter, like whenever he's on the court, it's always positive, and so
Yeah, he's great. I mean, the fact that I think like the first 6, 7 games they didn't play him and the Raptors were pretty fine. Then they played him and the Raptors continued to be fine. I don't know how late you came onto the show, but like earlier we were looking through the entire record. The Raptors were almost 500 after 20 games. They were
yeah,
9 and 11. That's crazy.
yeah,
And Otto was part of it, and that was with Grady struggling, Gary struggling, Boucher struggling. My God, like Grady played a ton of those minutes early on in the season, right? And the Raptors were fine. And McDaniels sucked. My God, he sucked, right? And Pascal was going through an extended cold streak. So it's like it's almost a shock that we were 9-11, right? But it feels like recently we've just kind of given up, you know? We just feel
But
like
like
we've
the
given up.
game's so mental. Like if you remember, like the game that they played, like right after the coach died, like from Golden State, like they played incredible. Like they actually can really gel. But so people have to realize like there is that will come. Like
Focus.
they're really young and
Yeah, I
um
think it comes down to focus, effort, energy, how hard you have to play to win when you're not that talented. And I
yeah.
think, there might even be a question of how much do the Raptors actually want to win? How much do they want to win right now? And how much do they see the point of even, punting the season and trying to get back their pick? I'm pretty sure this strategy might be a little bit different if, they hadn't traded away their pick this year, but they did trade away their pick, and this year they're really bad and they didn't figure to be here, but now they're here, so they might as well tank and try to keep their pick. But now if you end up sixth, which is a very good chance you do end up sixth, because when RJ comes back, all bets are off. You might beat all the Detroits and Charlottes of the world, and now you're sitting there with sixth pick, and you lose the sixth pick because the seventh or eighth or ninth team jumps you. Oh my gosh, it would be calamity. Giving the Spurs a pick in the top 6 or top seven pick, like giving them the 7th or 8th pick after you win like 22 games and put your fan base through hell. I mean, that would just be such a devastating outcome, basically. Yeah,
exactly. I think they should still try for the play-in because they get reps for Scotty and that. I still think that would be the best way to go.
Yeah, people in the chat are saying you look like Jakob Pertl. That's funny. Do you speak Spanish? I'm just curious, Frank.
Yeah, claro que sí. My boys are really all like I'm on the one that called in before about my boys playing basketball.
No, of course. I'm saying, do you speak Spanish? I know you're calling from Spain, but do you speak Spanish?
Oh yeah, fluently. Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't know if you know this, but I run the Pendants Film Festival here, and we picked 11 Spanish films this year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I've been listening to a lot of Spanish as well while we were programming these films. So very cool. Yeah.
One more question, like, I forget now. I'm on my phone, so I can't look it up. But the player we signed, I think he's around 25, that plays in the G League, older guy that's doing quite well.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Justice Winslow.
Yeah. Do you think they'll call him up at all to play up with the Raptors?
I can't really see that because, I mean, again, like I guess technically you can't call him up. He's not on a two-way, right? So you can, in theory, you can sign him to a two-way. Or if after the trade deadline there's an extra roster spot, you could potentially sign him to a minimum. I expect the Raptors will be shedding salary. Like at this point, weirdly enough, they're in a point where if they wanted to waive a guy like, I don't know, Garrett Temple. I don't know why they would waive Garrett. He seems to be very liked, but if they waived a guy like him, they actually are enough under the tax line where they could sign a guy like Justice Winslow to a minimum contract and it wouldn't be a big deal. So yeah, it's all worth thinking about. But yeah, anyways, Frank, thanks a lot for calling in. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I was just thinking one more thing, like after the trade deadline, if Otto Porter's still with us, I think he'll be in the rotation regularly. I hope so, because maybe they're just trying to keep him in case they trade him from any injury. But
I think he'll be out of the rotation because he helps you win. And if the Raptors, continue to lose, and there's almost a guarantee they lose the next 2 games, right? They're playing against OKC Sunday and then Monday against the Pelicans on a back-to-back. Both teams are good. Both games are on the road. Then you go against, Hornets on the road. So going into that Hornets game, you would potentially be 2 more games under 500 than you are today. I can't remember how far. They're 14 games under 500 today, I think. So you'd be 16 games under 500. Like, that is crazy. Like, yeah, they're 14 games under 500 right now. They're 19 and a half back of the Celtics. They're technically 4 games back of the Hawks for the 10th seed. So, again, and the Hawks have won 3 straight. So every team that's in the play-in picture right now is on a winning streak.
Yeah.
All of them. The Hawks have won 3 straight. The Bulls have won 1 straight. The Magic and Heat have won 2 straight. So those teams continue to put distance between themselves and the Nets and the Raptors. And ultimately, if the Raptors end up 17 and 33 after the Hornets game, which they very well could, that's kudos to the season. It's over, right?
Yeah.
But if you consider this, they were 9 and 11 at one point. So that means from 9 and 11, they went to 17 and 33 if they lose the next 2 games. That is an epic collapse. That is an epic collapse. Yeah. And they're really bad on the road. I mean, this is a team that is currently 7 and 18 on the road, and they may move to 7 and 20 by the end of this road trip. So it's just a pretty immature team, man. Anyways, thanks a lot for calling in, Frank. Really appreciate it.
Hey, one more thing.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Am I there? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, I'm sorry, just early morning, I keep drawing in blanks, but the Miami Heat are the superstar there. I should never forget his name.
Jimmy
what's
Butler.
his name? Yeah, do you think they'd actually trade him? Is there any chance we could trade for him?
No. not a chance. But
It would
thank you
be
so much.
that'd be super awesome though if we could have Jimmy Butler. Like I don't know, it'd be like a dream. But anyways,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how he works on your timeline. If Pascal was too old for your timeline, how does a 34, 35-year-old Jimmy Butler work? I don't know. But yeah, I hope for Jimmy's sake that he has a chance to compete for more championships. A really great player.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks a
the
lot, Frank.
difference. Sorry, one more thing. The difference though between Jimmy and Pascal is Jimmy's a winner. Like that's the difference. Like he's got the it factor.
He does have the it factor. I get all of that, but at the end of the day, 35 is 35. He's played a ton of minutes under Tibbs. I don't think he's going to age. Like, I think this could be like we're getting used to guys like LeBron, playing into his 38, whatever, and maybe someone like 39, and maybe someone like Steph is going to play well. But Jimmy has taken a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, so I wouldn't be surprised if we wake up like next year and he's just not a very good starter in the NBA anymore. It could happen.
Yeah.
So you don't buy now on Jimmy. You let
Yeah,
this guy.
realistically, it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work
Yeah.
realistically. But if he could be like 7 years younger, Jimmy would be pretty cool. But anyways, someday, hopefully, our players grow into that. And I mean, Scotty's that already, so we'll just keep building.
Yeah.
They'll get players around him, and our team will be a little different next year. So
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot,
Okay,
Frank. Cheers. See ya. All right. God, I am so tired. The amount of work that this festival takes is ludicrous every single year. But it's worth it. It's cool. It's coming together. It is coming together. A lot of cool things that I will definitely share with you guys at some point. But thank you so much. I saw some passes go off, and I recognized some names, and I was like, "Oh my God, Pensar basketball people. That's cool." Yeah, it's going to be cool. And if you're interested in film, and if you're someone who's interested in the art of film, there are some free events at Pendance too that you can definitely check out. There's the art of editing with Jeffrey Michael Bays, which is really cool, and it's a book that saved my film when I was editing The Intersection. If you remember last summer and this past winter, last summer when I was editing The Intersection. Remember, I was telling you guys I was editing my feature. There was a book that my friend Jeffrey Michael Bays, who's flying in from the United States and to lead this workshop, it's called Between the Seams. Super cool book. So he's going to be doing a workshop on that in Pendance, and it's going to be free. So, I wish I was in town, lived too far away to attend. Yeah, we have a pretty global audience that works for us and against us sometimes. But yeah, if you're, do me a favor. If you're a frequent listener of this channel, do me a favor. If you have someone in your life who loves cinema, who loves movies, is always talking about art house, is generally smart, is not your typical, popcorn Marvel MCU fan, but like someone who likes depth and nuance in their art and culture, definitely tell them about Pendance. It would be very meaningful to me. None of our players take it personal when losing bad. Yeah, that has to be developed. You need someone that appreciate it. That's funny. Some MCU has nuance. Yeah, I'm not throwing shade on Marvel cinematic universe or anything of that sort. There's definitely a place for that. I'm just saying, like, art house, foreign films, subtitles, it's not for everybody. But if you do know somebody in your life who, I don't know, has a particular way that they like their espresso, or actually knows a lot about Monet, or I don't know, you get it, like people who are, generally speaking, pretty sophisticated with their artistic and cultural appetites and have a significant cultural capital, let them know about Pendance. It's a great festival. Links are in the description, and yeah, some awesome films coming. So cheese. That's funny. Foreign character study films are the best. They certainly can be. for sure. Anyways, guys, take care. And hopefully I'm a little bit more rested for the trade deadline. I am not looking forward to the next 2 games. I'm just being honest. I'm not looking forward to it. It feels like, it's hard to watch some of these games. I mean, you want to look away at times. You know what I mean? Like, and what the worst part is? You're playing so many teams that did it right 3 in a row. You're playing these teams that have accumulated loads of young talent. Loads. Do you know the irony that you have to face Cam Whitmore and Amen Thompson one night, then you have to face Cason Wallace the next night, and then you have to face Dyson Daniels and Jordan Hawkins? Like, it feels like these were all players that could have been Raptors. You know what I mean? Not that I'm now changing my mind on Cam Whitmore after one game. I'm still pretty firm that I don't care that we didn't take him. But yeah. What makes you so sure, man? The math on this is not in your favor. I mean, yeah. LeBron tweeted out the Statue of Liberty. He's going to the Knicks. LeBron is such a troll sometimes, But yeah, that would be hilarious. LeBron going to the Knicks and closing out his career would be the greatest thing ever. LeBron for Randall and stuff. That'd be great. My God. Picks and Randall for LeBron if LeBron demands out. And then the Knicks do Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, LeBron James. Holy shit, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Anyways, Jordan Nwora is our best bench guy. Let that sink in. Flavius, Jordan Nwora was the best bench guy 2 years ago on the Milwaukee Bucks, I think. So it doesn't matter about if he's your best bench guy. What really matters, first of all, I don't really think he is. This might shock you, but I think Dennis Schroeder is a little bit better than Jordan Nwora. But I think it's just, you have to look at what you're missing right now. And what you're missing is like one very, very important piece. Like a very important piece. And it's not going to make any difference if you just fill out the end of your roster or get some very interesting prospect or whatever. It's not going to make a difference if you get a role player or a slightly better shooter. You need like a real impact maker. Now, maybe things look a little bit better when you have RJ Barrett because he can somehow masquerade as that once in a while. But you're so depleted of talent and skill that to have Bruce Brown, you're playing so small, you're playing so small, right? And oh my goodness, Bobby Portis. Nope. No. You need better than that. Rob, do you think Scotty will have trouble staying positive being on tanking losing team? No, man, I think as much as he probably hates it right now, he probably has been sold division by Masai and Bobby about what they didn't tear this down without talking to him for sure. So, hopefully, as I mentioned earlier in the live, to those of you who catch it late, I'm really hoping they just sort of shut him down for 10 games, give him some time to recover. It's not good for him. It's not good for him, especially if he ends up if he has a busy summer with Team USA. Get ahead of it, man. Do some development work with him now. You know what I mean? Anyways, I look so tired. It's like I don't think I've looked this tired on a live in a very long time. You can probably tell I've been up a lot. The last couple of days have not been easy or good at all for me. Just been digging into this issue and it's been tough, but I'm ready to just sleep, move on with my life. To those of you who keep asking, my dog is feeling a little bit better. A lot of tests, a lot of vet bills, a lot of craziness later. He is feeling a little bit better. He still falls over once in a while, but he's feeling a little bit better. So thank you so much. And he's positive by nature, but he can be frustrated. Yeah, he's a positive person. He sees the silver lining, but that doesn't mean that he's not human, that he's not a very fierce competitor. You could tell, earlier in the season how much losses bothered him. And this year it doesn't feel like, I think, he sort of conceded the season because his team and organization have sort of conceded the season and basically told him that we're just going to lose, right? And I don't think that's going to overwrite who he is as a person. I don't think that's going to mean that he's going to be okay being on a losing team. I think he's just dealing with it the best way a 22-year-old can, knowing that he has to be patient, knowing that, hey, Shea went through losing. Did he not? Things are good now, but I mean, how good were they last year? How good were they the year before? You know, Shea went through a lot of losing in OKC. He went through a lot of, watching his team actively tank for draft picks. How does that make him feel? You got to be patient. You got to be patient. It's different. If you had handed the keys to Pascal Siakam at the age of 22 or 23 and said, here, lead us, and just traded away Kyle Lowry and Marc Gasol and, everybody that was around him, I mean, it would have been so bad, right? There aren't a lot of teams in this league that are competently led by a 22-year-old. They're just not. It's not supposed to happen. It doesn't happen, right? Now, you might say the Orlando Magic are pretty good. How good are they? They're not that good. Okay, number one. And number two, they have a lot of pieces working for them, right? It's the NBA is a league where the average, I think, like this is maybe not mathematically verifiable or verified, but I think the average star player on a good team is like 28 to 29. That to me seems like the age that's average. Sometimes you have a guy who's 23, 22, like Luka or Shea, whatever, pretty young guys. Shea's not 23, whatever now, but like when he was 23, 24, he was still capable of being a good guy. But when you think about like the winning teams, who are their main guys? They're not 22 years old. Go through the list. Embiid, Jokic, yeah. So and that's an average. That doesn't mean that next year Scotty can't be the main guy on a 45 win team, 48 win team. Of course he can. Of course he can. Tyrese Halliburton can be the main guy on a 45 win team this year, right? So I'm really looking forward to this trade deadline. I'm looking forward to seeing, hopefully, that the Raptors don't go for draft picks at this trade deadline. I hope they go for young pieces. I hope they go for young pieces that inspire a lot more confidence in my heart than Jordan Nwora and, no offense to Jordan Nwora and Kyra Lewis. I'm hoping they go for like a real blue chip prospect and develop them. I hope they can start to get ahead of the development that they're going to be going into next year. And I hope they can pretty much just view this season, the remaining parts of this season, as a training camp for next season. Make it a mandate, make it a goal. Hey, yeah, we're pretty far behind the 8 ball. We lost our pick this year. We don't want to lose it, whatever. So yeah, we're gonna punt the season, fine, but we're gonna set up these habits for next year so that next year, we're not having all this roster turnover in the offseason, right? We're not trading Dennis in the offseason. If you don't want Dennis to be on your team next year, trade him now. That's how I would do it. And does that mean that you might not get the package you want right now? Fine. Yeah, fine. Maybe you don't get the package you want right now. Maybe you don't get the pick that you want right now. That's fine. I don't care. What I want is for this team to get like the pieces that they want now. If that is at all possible, if Herb Jones and Nick Claxton, well, not Nick Claxton because he's a free agent, but if Herb Jones is what you want, don't wait till the offseason. Trade for him now. Learn your lessons from the past, right? Dude, he brought it. He brought something. I mean, credit where credit is due. He brought something. I don't know if you want to see this team. I mean, dude, this team was on the verge of getting blown up by 50 points. Rob, before you go, what's the deal on this Killian talk? What Killian talk? Killian Hayes? Like the Raptors want Killian Hayes? Would I be opposed to that? I could understand it. I don't know if there's any legs to it, but I could understand why they would want him. Yeah. Anyways, Apparently we got high chances to land, bro. I don't know. Not the worst idea in the world. I guess it depends on what you're giving up, right? Are you giving up Otto Porter for Killian Hayes? Then sure, you know, take a swing. Definitely, like I understand, like a lot of people are super down on him and think he's like the worst player in the NBA. He's not. He's not. Dad Young for Killian Hayes. Sure, I'd do that. It's a poll. I'm not familiar with this. Anyways, I have a feeling if I look at this live tomorrow, I'm gonna be like, yo, like, did you sleep on this live? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Unfortunately, these lives sometimes must come, you know, like after the games, especially. Like, you gotta do them. You're not gonna not do them. So you're gonna do them. And unfortunately, very often I am super sleep deprived. So I apologize. I wish I could be my best for these. I wish I could get like super hype and do jumping jacks and, you know, be super engaged. But frankly, watching this team was sad. And I wish I could come in with all this energy. But again, watching this team sucked. And I know that we're supposed to just be patient. And I don't mind losing games. I just have an issue with how the Raptors lost tonight. Anyways, take care, guys. Have a good one. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff on this video. I appreciate the super chats, Noble Venom. And I appreciate all the callers. Thank you guys for calling on. And, you know, again, if you have a cinema lover in your life, tell them about Pendants happening February 22nd to 25th. Take care. See ya. Bye.